Let me call a meeting to order. Let's do a pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Let's do a roll call. Molly, Ren, what are you doing over on that side of the room? George, Paloma, Dan, Lee, and I'm still, sounding like the Wizard of Oz. Chris is here. Christian, are you online, City Attorney?
Yes, I am. Good evening, Mayor and members of the Council. My name is Christian Gates, and I'll be filling in for Mr. Ward Willis tonight.
Yeah, that sounds better. Okay. All right. So, first opportunity for public comments. I will read off those who signed up, and then anyone else would be welcome to do it. You've got 3 minutes on any topic you like except the public hearing. We do have a public hearing, which concerns 6 Commerce Street. So if you have any questions about that, hold off. But other than that, you can have any comment you like. And the first person is Teresa Kraft.
Good evening. Teresa Kraft. I attended last week's Village of Fishkill public hearing on a new 3-story, 7-building project proposed for Jackson and Main Street. There was so much public outcry. Residents in the packed town hall kept saying, "Don't allow the overdevelopment to go through. Please don't ruin our community like Beacon has." All the while, our former building inspector was sitting at that board table in discomfort. And at the Town of Fishkill board meeting that I attended that week, the town board is already talking about Beacon's plans to develop and build out the current Route 52 car dealer corridor with high-density housing and the impact it will have on their already bottlenecked roads in both the town and the village of Fishkill, and with all the shared infrastructure. Schools and water are the start. I believe the city of Beacon should be put the brakes on, do another comprehensive plan, get public input, and hold off on any more major city changes that will have a lifetime impact until we get a new planner on board. Most of you ran on this platform of stopping overdevelopment, and that's contrary to what we've witnessed since this beginning of this current council. Thank you.
Thank you. Katie Helmuth.
Hello, my name is Katie Helmuth, Chair of the Spirit of Beacon Day. Due to the tropical storm that advanced on Saturday, we made a very difficult decision to postpone it to the following Sunday, October 1st. We, the committee, want to thank the people of Beacon who were ready to come out in the rain, and to our performers who were also ready to perform in the rain. While it rained on the parade last year, it was sunny-ish before and after. The following weekend of the rain date was actually worse weather. We didn't want that to happen again, even though there was sunshine on the following Sunday this time. The forecast was flickering. When the weather forecast was getting worse on Wednesday, we checked with all of our contract vendors to see if they could continue to the next weekend and what the financial hit would be. While the forecast showed some rain next weekend, we stayed the course. But the weather worsened on Saturday. We started hearing from people who were packing extra tents to keep the kids covered in any kid activity. We checked with different organizations to get a read on the parents and the kids, and as the wind blew, we made the decision to postpone. We didn't know how bad Sunday would be, but the risk was not worth it to us. Given that we had everything in place for the following weekend, we moved very quickly to alert everyone. We want to thank Lieutenant Jason Walden for being at the ready to take our phone call on Saturday and immediately alert police and highway departments. We were prepared to take the financial hit of our rentals, but our vendors have been very kind and generous to us. We want to thank our porta potty company, Herring, for leaving the bathrooms in place. Thank you, Durant's, for charging us only a little extra to leave the stage in place. Thank you, Dutchess County, for giving us the bus to route people from the train station to Main Street from 11 to 4. Thank you to all, or 4:30. Thank you to all of our performers for being available again. Table vendors have been amazing. Most are still coming, and we just got a new sign-up. Most importantly, the schools, PTAs, PTOs, parents, and kids. You were ready then, and you said a big yup when we rescheduled. In fact, one of the first texts I received was, "Thank you, now if only soccer would cancel." Regarding the farmers market closing so that the DMV parking lot can be available, the farmers market and the Beacon Flea vendors take a large financial loss when the market closes for the Spirit of Beacon Day, as is in their contracts. For this rain date, the City of Beacon has agreed to let both markets be open in their parking lots. This is huge, and everyone should tell your friends to park at the MTA train station to use the free bus, which will come every 25 minutes. Next year, both markets should continue to be open, as they are a huge enhancement to the City of Beacon. For those vendors, the weekend markets cover some of their payrolls, so they need to stay open. We tried to reconfigure them in a map within the Spirit of Beacon block, but the nature of the refrigerated vans, several of the vendors need to resupply their inventory, and they really need to stay in the same parking lot spot. Regular customers can find them easier also. Thank you to the Spirit of Beacon Committee. We are blessed to have each other and keep each other calm and ask good questions as we sort out logistics. Many thanks to the table and parade map genius who is constantly reconfiguring in order to fit people's requests when they can. See you next Sunday,
15 seconds.
October 1st from 11 to 4. Everyone, the parade's from 1 to 2.
Thank you, Katie. Clark Gepin?
Clark Evan, 2 Wilson Street. Can you imagine if all that energy that embodies the last speaker's address to the council of community cooperation, participation, and knowledge were to be applied to the real estate decisions and planning addressed in this community? Can you imagine the wealth of opportunities for a development plan that encompasses the wealth of the city's real estate? Can you imagine that the Fishkill Avenue discussion is not left to the narrow corridor that provides access to the city's grid system, one of 4 entrances to the city? The narrowing of the corridor to accommodate parking and congestion without imagination. The consideration of Route 52 in its relationship to both sides of the Fishkill Creek and beyond, to the Sisters property, to the Texaco property, to the prison property. The larger environment that is Beacon needs to have a community review where views are expressed, debated, and fought over, because we need to be mature enough that discord is the strength of America. Because you are granted the blessing of leadership does not give you the blessings of royalty. Engagement with the people who you serve requires an honest reflection
15 seconds.
of the economic opportunity the community should be considering at large. It is the property owners who pay taxes that have the most to gain or lose.
Your time has lapsed.
I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Clark. That's it for those on the list. Is anyone in the public audience who would like to speak? This would be the time to do it.
Good evening. I'm Pam Weatherby, live on Mead Avenue, and I'm here tonight just with concerns of the Fishkill Avenue rezoning. I've been listening to the meetings the past several weeks, and I have lived there for almost 35 years, and I have concerns. I look every day at a beautiful mountain, which I have heard 4 stories mentioned, and that's gone, not only for me, but for anybody who comes into that corridor coming in from Fishkill. I have major concerns of the view sheds, and it's not just a sliver. I mean, anybody walking on the sidewalk in Fishkill Avenue between Conklin and Townsend, it's an amazing view. Mill Street, that's another amazing view shed. And to even put more, even the 35 feet is too high to cover the views that people could see. I think it's a great opportunity, and wonder if this council should maybe have more of the input from the county and from neighboring communities before they make a decision that this is a big decision that, looking back at 2 comprehensive plans, there is hardly any mention of this area. Our comprehensive plan will be looked at again, typically 10 years, or that's the tradition we're doing. That's in 2027, where that committee would be put in charge in less than 2 years. So I understand the urgency that property's for sale, and now we've got to cater to developers. I have concerns, and this area is just an amazing area to look at. The views, there's a lot of issues in this area, but those views make up for it. There's 50 residential homes, single family, in this neighborhood, and I am against them pulling any of those single family properties into this zone that are on Mead Avenue. There's at least 7, one is 2 away from me, that all these years that owner has known it is residential, single family, 2 lots. All of those are buildable, which I have heard from the planner that's not the case. They could all be buildable. They have either grass, trees, or parking, no buildings that are commercial. The rear building aesthetics for the
15
rail
seconds.
trail and the residents is a huge concern. Losing the natural beauty of the Mount Beacon due to the buildings blocking what beautiful views we have between Townsend and Conklin and around Mill Street will be devastating, and I question drive-throughs, gas station, and car washes, that they would be an issue with noise throughout that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Anyone else? Next, come on up. Tell us who you are, where you live.
Good evening. My name is Shelley Blumenthal, and I've lived on Conklin Street for 14 years, and I'm here to provide comments on the proposed Fishkill Avenue rezoning. I want to extend my thanks to all the members of City Council who have already had so much thoughtful discussion about the opportunities presented to us with the sale of the Healy property on Route 52. I'm truly excited about the ways that the sale of this property presents us with an opportunity to consider and discuss what comes next in this area of Beacon that my neighbors and I love so much. To begin, I'm personally in favor of a rezoning of this important area, but I would advocate that our council not rush into rezoning without a planning process that is as democratic and inclusive of the concerns of community members as our city's comprehensive plan requires us to be. I'm here tonight to ask that in the council's deliberations about Fishkill Avenue, please continue to consider the following concerns. 1, please think broadly about how this neighborhood fits into the larger picture of the city of Beacon, including such important things as the proposed rail trail, our need to protect the Fishkill Creek environment, and how this area of Beacon will connect in the future to development at Camp Beacon. Please don't rush into rezoning that fails to consider these significant issues. 2, please do not allow this part of Beacon to become yet another area where developers get rich by only putting in apartments that the average Beaconite cannot afford to rent or buy. Any residential use that is permitted in a rezoning should incentivize housing units that are affordable to people who already live in Beacon. 3, I've been speaking to many of my neighbors, and we object strongly to the inclusion of the parcels on Mead Avenue that are currently zoned residential R1-5 in the new Fishkill Avenue zone. Mead Avenue is a quiet residential street with 27 homes, and these spaces should remain residential spaces. Please leave these parcels out of the rezoned Fishkill Avenue district. 4, as Pam said, there are beautiful mountain views in this area of Fishkill Avenue, and they should be preserved. Please ensure that rezoning protects the mountain views that can be enjoyed by everyone in Beacon from this area, and include height limits on any new building. I believe that we have a rare opportunity to come together as a community and work together to say what our hopes and dreams are for a neighborhood that we can all share and enjoy. My hopes and dreams do not include dense luxury housing, chain restaurants with drive-throughs, or noisy automotive uses that my neighbors can hear through their bedroom windows. Let's not waste this chance to make this part of Beacon more beautiful, welcoming,
15 seconds.
and useful for all of us.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sure, come on up.
Hi, Thomas Wright, 24 Grove Street. Just wanted to make a quick announcement about an event that will be taking place at the Rec Center on Center Street next Wednesday, October 4th, from 7 to 8:30. It is an electrification education event, sort of brought to you by Community Quarterly. Been working with Dan Imar Blair and Paloma Wake to prepare a presentation, sort of a follow-up presentation that we had from the one that we had back in June about home electrification, focusing on existing electrification, or existing home, the equipment in your home that heats your home, and hot water, cooks your food, and dries your clothes, and the benefits of converting to all-electric efficient equipment for that. So any interest in that, you can reach out to Dan, Paloma, or myself. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? There'll be a second opportunity for public comment if you're shy for the first one. Ben, anyone online?
If you're on Zoom and you'd like to make a comment, please use the raise hand option at the bottom of your screen. If you're joining us by phone, you'll need to press *9. If you're watching on YouTube and you'd like to make a comment, you will need to join the Zoom by visiting beaconny.gov. As of now, there are no hands raised on our Zoom feed.
Okay, and as I said, there'll be a second opportunity for public comments at the end of the meeting. The next item would be the public hearing. So there is a public hearing regarding the rezoning of 6 Commerce Street. Can I get a motion and a second to open that public hearing?
Motion.
Second.
So that was George and Molly. Christian, you're going to give us a brief explanation before we open the hearing to any commentary?
Yes, I'd be happy to. So this is a single property that is currently zoned R1-75, which is residential, and it would be rezoned to the CMS district, as are all the other properties which abut it. Initially, it was a single-family home, which is not allowed in the CMS district, but there has been a change or proposed change of use in the property, and so this would be consistent with surrounding properties. This recommendation has already been, recommendations have already been provided by the city planner, the city planning board, as well as the county of Beacon, county of Dutchess, which said that this was a matter of local concern.
Okay.
And if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, so if anyone wants to speak on this topic, I think there's 2 people signed up. Teresa?
Teresa Kraft. My stance on the zone change is against it. It sets a precedent in Beacon to switch residential and commercial zones without difficulty. We know the applicant jumped the gun and the commercial space had a soft opening. We saw it. I am opposed to this rezone for multiple reasons. One is the properties across the parcel on Commerce Street will have a hard time to sell or build residential housing in the future. Who would want to live across from a commercial store or, without a doubt, a restaurant? It's stated in the planner's letter that the city is under no obligation to grant this rezoning request. The planning board's endorsement didn't sway all of its planning board members. And again, there's the lack of parking, and the city's answer is they could use the same municipal building and county center and the planned firehouse public lot. But isn't that exactly where the Prophecy Hall is placing all of their influx of traffic and parking? Oh, right, it's a walking city. Let's hear it from the public. Not at the council meeting, but in a public forum. Bring it. Comprehensive plan review should be really a hot topic at this table. Thank you.
Thank you. Clark?
Clark Evans, 2 Wilson Street. So, the opportunity to rezone this particular parcel raises the question of spot zoning. While I have no specific objection to the pragmatic decision as to whether or not it should be commercial or residential, I do have an objection to the predilection of the council to take disparate perceptions of a vast array of opportunities for a consistent vision of the city. Loose language, such as the Fishkill district where no development occur near the water, are subject to arbitrary concepts of what is permissible and what is not, would be an example. But it doesn't stop there. It's like, if we go back a couple years, we look at the isolated proposition of the CVS opposite the police station. At the time, it appeared to be, well, we're consistent with the plan. I watched that plan very closely in its development. I attended the first meetings in the Glyphonic Cafe when they occurred. And I purposely sat back and decided that I wasn't going to try to be an intellectual force using my economic land use and highest and best use knowledge, because I didn't want to, as ridiculous as it might seem, overpower any thought. Because I think there's something to be said for organic, uncontrived participation. But the value of land in the city is accelerated to such a degree that the property interest from out of town that drive America's real estate opportunities has inculcated itself into our city in demand for development opportunities. And they've essentially overpowered the intellectual capacity of the council, and that could be seen by the discussion on Route 52, where the council members really didn't have a deep grasp of the parcels in their dimensions, and not that you didn't have the opportunity to look on the internet and come to a more comprehensive framework. It's okay. You're part-time. Got it. But our planning has been a cascading kind of a process where the same half a dozen people have essentially engaged in the planning process and directed the planning process in this county for 30 years. So you have 6 people, okay, who have been county planners, and then we have our counter planning legacy between 2 particular individuals that go back to the early 70s when land use planning first evolved once again for the first time since Al Smith in 1926. And so we had this movement in the 70s to have master plans, and here we go from there. The point is that we've become stagnant without having the deeply rooted intellectual economic framework that an appraiser brings to the highest and best use equation It provides for a balanced community that the taxpayers benefit from balanced growth, and the homeowners aren't pushed out, and the renters are less likely to be pushed out because the taxes on their apartments is in check against a office and a retail base to the extent that it is possible. So we still pine away for a second grocery store so that citizens of this community aren't absolutely taken.
15 seconds.
And we're about ready to lose a drugstore because of maybe bad decisions made several years ago. And then we'll have a desert, not only as a food desert, but we'll have a pharmacy desert. So
Your time has lapsed.
it's appropriate that in relationship to spot zoning, that you curtail it as much as possible. But I do recognize the practical reality that you might as well approve this particular instance. Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak on this topic of 6 Commerce Street? Hearing none in the audience. Ben, anything online?
None online, Mayor.
Okay. Can I get a motion and second to close the public
Yeah,
hearing?
motion to close the public hearing regarding 6 Commerce Street.
That was Molly. Can I get a second?
Second.
George, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you all. Next are reports. Which end should we start? Ren's over there, so let's start with Molly. We'll go that way.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank Katie Helmuth and all those involved with the Spirit of Beacon Day for persevering to another weekend. And I fingers crossed that the weather ends up being as lovely as it appears right now on all the weather apps that I'm checking for next Sunday. For those of you who are aware that we have a cannabis showcase now here in Beacon called The Station, and our mayor may talk a little bit more about it because he got a chance to be part of the opening ceremony for it. It was past Friday. I bring it up just to mention that for those who have any questions about this or notice any behavior or want to learn more about it, that this location is actually controlled by the state. So while you're welcome to bring your comments and questions to the city council, that the state has a line for anything, and if you go, they have a whole website about it, cannabis, cannabis.newyork.gov, and you can register anything there. There's something that actually the state is in charge of. I will say I personally am really excited to see this big law that was passed come to fruition, and I think it's really important that the community be part of making sure that it plays out exactly as we would like it to, and it's great to see someone who was already involved in the community bringing this forth. The other thing I want to bring up is that starting or really ending in late August, we were talking about affordable housing, and I appreciate we've switched our focus to Fishkill Avenue because that seems to be a more pressing need. And also I want to make sure that we return to that at some point. There were some talks about Beacon Housing Authority and the county lot, the DMV. Just wanted to see if there's any updates around there. There was also some talk about some parking minimums, if we wanted to tie that to affordability or general in the city, if that's something we wanted to bring up. We brought it up, but I wasn't sure where we are with that, so see if that's something the council has any thoughts on collectively. And then also is this idea of inclusionary zoning and the idea of an overlay, be it tied to senior affordability, which are maybe larger issues that we're not quite sure of our full next steps. Some of that might take some more time, but just wanted to make sure that that wasn't lost in the shuffle as well. And that is everything for me, and I'll pass it on to Ren.
Thank you, Molly. I'm so glad that you brought that up about affordable housing again. I also would love to continue that discussion and remind ourselves what our next steps were. I know we were going to have the county in, and then we were going to look at maybe having other professionals in to talk to us about different kinds of housing, but I also would like to continue that discussion, and I think it could also inform the rezoning and the community discussion around rezoning. I really appreciate those of you who came out tonight to talk about the Fishkill rezoning, and I would urge everyone in the community to speak up. If you're not comfortable speaking up at a city council meeting, send us a note. We will read it, and as the process moves forward, we'll take all of these thoughts into consideration. We really need to hear from you on this, and I appreciate your comments about having a very open and democratic conversation about this rezoning, because it does affect so many people, and it does tie into our comprehensive plan. So thank you. Thank you, too, for I echo the thanks to the Spirit of Beacon, for Katie and all of the other volunteers for your work in reconvening for the first. I will be out of town, so I wore my t-shirt. I thought about wearing my baseball cap, but I thought you might not be able to see my face, so I'll be putting that on to keep my face out of the rain anyway. But the swag is great, so that's another way, I think, to support the Spirit of Beacon Day if, like me, for some reason you can't participate. I also wanted to thank a community member and BVAC volunteer who brought to my attention the Senate Bill S-1466 that has been signed by the Senate and the Assembly. It has passed and is waiting for the governor to sign, authorizing payments to non-participating or non-preferred providers of ambulance services licensed under Article 13 of the Public Health Law. It is the opinion of this community member that this would be helpful to our volunteers at BVAC, and urged me myself to look at and urge the governor to sign this bill, and perhaps this is something that all of us on the city council and all of us listening in tonight could take a look at. It's S 1466, and if you agree that like our volunteers, that the governor should be signing this now, then please call and urge her to do so. Thank you.
Nothing to report this week, thank you.
I will also keep mine short, just to echo basically everything that Molly and Red said, and thanks to Spirit of Beacon Day volunteers, and also everyone who has been sharing your thoughts and opinions about Fishkill Avenue, and I hope to engage as many of you as possible in actual dialogue and conversation to better understand the scope of concerns. I know 3 minutes isn't a lot of time to get out a lot of information, and even writing an email can not quite get the full scope of what you want to say, so I do hope to find time to speak further. And in that vein, I did have to cancel my last scheduled office hours because I was sick, but I will be releasing new office hour times later this week via the city website or my social media. So please hope to keep the conversation going.
All right. A couple key dates and announcements. My office hours will be, for the month of October, will be the third Sunday, which is October 15th, and I'll be at Trax at 1 East Main from 10 to 12. So if you want to discuss anything, come on down. As Thomas Wright mentioned earlier, we have an event on October 4th at the Beacon Rec Center called How Do I Electrify? This is an event where you can learn all the steps to electrifying your home and how to take advantage of the all the money and credits that are available out there. So that'll be the October 4th, Wednesday, October 4th from 7 to 8:30 at the Beacon Rec Center. And I'll just say that the event that we had in the early summer this year, I got all this information, and my wife and I were able to take the first steps in electrifying our home from the first session. So it's been really great, and we haven't spent a penny yet. The next thing I want to mention is there's the federal lead and copper rule revisions went into effect 2 years ago, and as part of that law, it necessitates that all not just municipalities, but all water districts or anybody supplying water conducts a lead service line inventory to document how many service lines throughout the municipality are made of lead, which of course is toxic and leads to severe effects in humans. I'm not sure if that report is underway yet because it's not due until October 2024, but it's something that's very important to me. And I'd like to know if, when that work begins or reaches any key milestones, if we could just get a presentation on how it's going here at City Council. And then lastly, you may have received this postcard, annual drinking water report. And this postcard every year reminds me that I think we can do better with communicating to the public. And I don't know if this is something that's mandated by the state or the county, but when I get a postcard and it doesn't have the information on it and it tells you how to go get the information, it usually makes me feel like something's being hidden, and it's not, because our drinking water is great in Beacon. What it means to me, though, is that I think that we need to do better with communicating with the public, and I think one of the key ways of doing that is with print. I think not everybody can sign up for an email, but everybody receives mail. And when you get mail, then it's your choice whether you're informed about what's going on or not. And that's why in this year's budget, I'm going to call for multiple mailers for the purpose of giving the public information about what we're doing on City Council and what's going on around town, so everybody feels better informed. And that's it. Thanks.
Thank you all. So there are a lot of thank yous. I just want to offer a couple. So I just am very appreciative for all the volunteers for Spirit of Beacon. Thank you very much. And then for people providing input, whether it's on this particular public hearing or some of the zoning that we're thinking through, I'm very attentive to your views and I'm very interested in them. And please feel free to speak up. If you want to reach out separately, I'm happy to do that, because I'm not sure that we all have, I don't want to speak for the council, but this is an interesting area, and I'm not sure we have all clear views, and so hearing input's really important, and I'm very appreciative of that. That's all I got. City Administrator?
Just to respond to Dan quickly, we've been working on the lead and copper rule for more than a year.
Cool.
And when we implement the meter upgrades, part of that is determining where the service lines might still be lead. So we already have the GIS framework for mapping that, and we'll be filling data in as we go forward. So we're well along. I think probably in the first or second quarter next year, we could have the superintendent of water come and give you an update on where we stand on that.
Thank you so much, Chris.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay.
Question related to that. Are the meter upgrades going to start anytime soon?
We may be announcing that. We've been waiting on inventory of the MXU units that have to go in. It looks like we may make an announcement in 2 weeks about targeting our first ward. I think we're going to do it in 4 parts because we can't get the entire inventory at one time.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So I'll give you advance notice and we'll publicize it at the city council meeting.
Great.
But we're still waiting for the go.
Okay. Christian, I'm going to lean on you in a minute. So we're starting up local laws and resolutions. The first one is setting public hearing for various corrections to the zoning code. Can I get a motion and a second first? And it is just Paloma
Second.
and Molly. And it is just for setting a public hearing. Christian, will you give us kind of a summary of the various changes in there?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So the mayor is correct. This is just corrections to the local zoning code that were pointed out to us from the city planner. One of them includes the deletion of the parking overlay district. There is only 2 references in the city zoning code to that, and that is in the zoning map and also in the establishment of district, so it doesn't really actually have any function. And then there are some other corrections to update and make consistent with the zoning regulations and what are they? Yeah. And then there's also some updates that were unfortunately made previously with previous local laws, and then another subsequent local law was passed which failed to include that update, and so it reversed back. And so this local law is making corrections to that.
Okay, thank you. And to be clear, the date we would set is October 23rd. Do I have that right?
Yes, and that should be sufficient time for the city planning board as well as the county planning board to provide their recommendations.
Okay. Any comments for the council on setting a public hearing?
That was one of my questions as to why it was 4 weeks and not 2 weeks, so I appreciate that clarification about needing time. I'm also curious, I noticed in the packet that I think are the pictures that are in the descriptions of the standards, are those new, Christian? Do you happen to know?
Those pictures were actually initially intended to be in that part of the zoning code, and then they were omitted when that previous local law was adopted by the council.
Great, thank you. I found them very useful. I'm not a developer or designer, but they were great to put the words into action, so thank you for clarifying.
And then actually there was an update to subsection J where the supposedly intended the vinyl awnings aspect that was intended to be adopted in a previous local law, but it was omitted. And so we provided for that correction here.
And just to clarify, some of this was omitted by E-code, so when we do these updates, we send them to E-code, and for some reason, they never made it onto the updated E-code.
Okay. Any other comments or concerns? All right, so all in favor, we're setting a public hearing on this particular local law of various corrections to the zoning code for October 23rd, say aye.
Aye.
Yeah, aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Next item are some budget amendments. Do I get a motion and a second to approve the amendments that are proposed? And we'll have Chris take us through them.
Motion?
So that's Molly Ann.
Second.
George, thank you very much. Chris, you're going to take us through what these amendments are?
Sure.
Thank you.
As we discussed at last week's workshop, we have one budget amendment proposed for the sewer fund and 3 for the general fund. The one in the sewer fund is to transfer $35,000 from our contingency fund to overtime. As we discussed, we're trying to staff overnight when we have these torrential rains to make sure that the plant is functioning. We also had a couple vacancies earlier in the year, and we're covering those shifts through overtime. The second amendment is to the general fund, and that is for repair of equipment for 2 pieces of apparatus in our highway department, the leaf vacuum truck and the backhoe. This would transfer $20,000 from contingency to repair of equipment in highway. The third amendment relates to our recycling cost. We pay 2 costs for recycling. One is a pickup charge, which we pay to Royal, and then we pay a disposal cost for Republic, which is the recycling facility on Route 52. As we discussed last week, the market for the end products have basically collapsed. So we're now paying for recycling that at one point we were paid for, and the price that we paid has gone up substantially. So to get through the year, we would propose to move $61,000 from contingency to recycling charges. And the last one is a pass-through, where our recreation department saw that there was a child care worker bonus in the governor's budget. And so what this would do is take state aid that's associated with that and pass that through to worker bonuses for staff that work on our after-school program. And that's in the amount of $11,142. And if you have questions, I'm glad to.
Comments, questions? Okay. All in favor of those 4 budget amendments, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Great. Is it the second opportunity for public comments? No, it says we're supposed to do the exciting minutes first of September 11th. If only I could move to approve them, I would, but I cannot, so I need a motion to do that, although I will second them.
Motion to approve the minutes?
Of September 11th?
Of September 11th,
I will
2023.
I will second that. Any comments, adjustments, readings, dots to the i's or crosses to the t's?
I thought I saw a spacing issue, but actually on second glance, I think it's just the letting and the thing, so I don't have any comments.
All right. Any other thoughts, concerns? All right, all in favor of approving the minutes of September 11th, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, so this is the second opportunity for public comment. If you did not speak in the first opportunity and would like to do so now on any topic of your choice other than the public hearing, you've got 3 minutes. Anyone interested? All right, so seeing, hearing, no one, going once, going twice in the public audience. Ben, anyone online?
None online, Mayor.
All right. So that would take care of the second opportunity for public comments. I am looking for a motion to adjourn.
Can I just throw in one quick thing, Lee?
Yes.
It just struck me tonight that when we were discussing the local laws and resolutions, that you asked if there was anything that we wanted to discuss, and nobody said anything, and just we go ahead and vote. And for people who might be coming to this meeting for the first time, we actually do have a discussion about these things, but they're at the workshop the week prior. It's not like we're approving hundreds of thousands of budget amendments without discussion, so just want to put that out there.
Yes, thanks, Dan. Yeah, absolutely. So we go through all of these in our workshop the week before. That's our informal meeting. And we try to provide enough information because we've heard it once. And so to at least give people a sense of what the topic is about, but we may not always have the same conversation twice. So, yeah, absolutely.
And those
Thanks.
informal meetings are also open to the public.
Always.
And every Monday, we're here at 7
Right.
o'clock.
But there's no opportunity for public comments at those. It's just us talking to ourselves. Okay.
I'll also make a motion to adjourn.
And
Second.
by Paloma, all in favor?
Aye.
And good night. Thank you all for coming, and I especially appreciate the commentary.